Working with buyers is easier than everyone actually thinks. Now, with the NAR settlement updates, we are having challenges with the consumer saying, I don't want to sign the agreement. If you are an agent and you are trying to figure out how do I help someone understand the value of using the agreement, the value of working with me exclusively. Of course, you could have non-exclusive depending on your state. You could have a showing document. Not true in Illinois. Okay, in Florida. Here's where I'm going to give you a few different tools that you can use to help you with your value and help the consumer understand what you do all day. Now, first things first, you could literally Google 105 ways an agent helps the consumer when they're going to buy their home. However, if you depending on which market you're in, I'm in Illinois, I'm also in Florida, you we can I can shop for homes in my multiple listing service and give the consumer the ability to shop. Of course, we know that the consumer is going to end up on everybody else's website. That's okay. But I can actually give them access to their version of my multiple listing service so they have the ability to search almost like I search. The other thing I think is really important for real estate agents is creating a full buyer presentation. Now, I get it. You might be saying, Carrie, people just want to go shopping. It's like going to Nordstrom with no money or just going somewhere shopping. It's like window shopping. And maybe you get there and you're like, oh, I'd like to buy, but then you realize you don't have any money. So we still have to go through the steps of home ownership. We want you to see homes. We want the consumer to be able to see houses, but there's some value in actually working with an agreement. Now, if you are someone that has just jumped in your car and you're like, I'm just going shopping, I'm showing people houses, let me reel you back in and talk to you about having a process. If you have never taken the ABR, the Accredited Buyer Representation course or representative course, I recommend it. Because if you do, it'll even in the back of the book, you get scripts, you get process concepts because you can build out your own. If you are someone that goes through a process, meaning you call me and you're like, Carrie, I want to buy a home. The first thing I'm doing is I'm starting to have a conversation with you on what are your home buying goals. That could be a process. The next thing I'm doing is saying, have you already talked to a lender? Are you paying with cash? Then I'm transferring you over to a lender or a few lenders. You could pick the one you really want. Now, there's some people that I love, but and again, depending on the market, I might want you to work with someone that will help you get fully underwritten, almost like cash. So if I go through those processes, I have a conversation. What are your goals? When do you want to be in the home? What do you think you can afford? Getting you to the lender, getting you fully approved because now we're not window shopping. Then, even before we start shopping, I go over the steps to home ownership. So, what I thought I would do is kind of show you what this could look like. Now, of course, you could use ChatGPT to come up with ideas, of course, right? But what I thought I'd do is just show you what this might look like if I was working with a buyer. So I just grabbed a few properties and I'm going to use this thing called Cloud CMA and I'll create a quick buyer packet. So I'm clicking the buyer tour. And even if you're like, Carrie, I've never done this, it is worth 5 minutes. Even if you're like, I probably need a class, come see me in a full class. And if Carrie, how about Mark and Carrie? And I can put their last names, of course. I can just go grab the listings from my multiple listing service. Same thing in Florida because I get the same product. I can schedule my appointments or not schedule my appointments yet because we're having a conversation. I can change the order of these, click customize and build a full buyer packet. And I can actually use this to have a conversation. Now, of course, I'll change my theme, etc. I'm going to go grab a template. Let's go with the first timer. I like that one. I have almost everything I need to have a conversation with the buyer. If you are a buyer and you happen to find me on social media or YouTube or somewhere, and you're like, Carrie, this works. I can now tell you a little bit about me, the company. I can go over the home buying process. This is really my favorite. I could even just make this available, send it to you via email, and we can have a conversation. And then I can go over, the information about the properties, why you need your own agent. For no other reason, if your company does not have a full buyer packet, this works. I worked for a big brokerage for years. We would go to a drawer and it was shrink wrapped. I'd pull it out and then I could add all of my listings, and I can literally sit down with a buyer. And if I just turn the page, I could do this. And if I might read verbatim, but if I were to sit down with a buyer, I can have a conversation about what they want. Now, let me just give you some more options. Like you could literally add more about guidance. Should you wait to buy? Is now the right time to buy? Deciding which home to buy. It's okay to buy the first house you see because that one might not come back. True story. I was teaching the ABR course not too long ago, and there was a real estate agent in the room, newer in the business, a few years. And when I said that, she said, "Say that again." I said, "It's okay to buy the first house you see." She said her cousin stepped in and said, "Oh, you don't want to buy the first house because you might want something better." She said that house was gone when she went back, and she wished she had written an offer on the first house she saw. And to this day, I'm like, "Did you ever tell your family member?" She was like, "No." I said, "You should." And again, this is why it is when the consumer goes to buy, and why it's important to have conversations, because a part of your process is going through the full process. Who are the decision makers? Who's helping you buy? Who's not helping you buy? But who has a voice in your life? This is all about having a full conversation with the consumer. So you can literally build a full buyer packet. I'll just use this one and publish it. And you can have a real conversation with the consumer literally right now. I can email it. I can copy it as a PDF link and email it once it's through publishing. I could open it in iBooks on my iPad. I could open it in Evernote. I can open it up on my computer and actually open Zoom, what else? Skype, Teams, and present the entire buyer packet. I could email it to the client. I could even use something like this and create a video to have a conversation with the consumer. Look at this. Like, let me just hop down to, like, you even get the local restaurants. And then my favorite section is going through the process. Why a buyer needs their own agent. What are your goals? Lower price, lower interest rate. Talks about your down payment. Like you could use this as a way to have a conversation with the consumer. But let's say you're like, "Okay, Carrie, that's great, but what about using some of this maybe even in AI?" Yeah, you could use ChatGPT and say, what are 5 things I can share with a home buyer on why they should work with me exclusively. I think I spelled it right. Maybe I need glasses on. Personalized service. It's an experience. You're great at negotiating. Why? Because you can look at the multiple listing service. You can look at InfoSparks. You can look at Realtor's Property Resource. You can see the trends in the marketplace. You can talk to them about the community. You can redirect them to an educator or the principal to talk about the school scores, because we're not. You can give them the full experience in real estate. You can create a market analysis. You're going to make the process easy. Remember, I said 105 ways an agent helps a buyer. There are so many things that people don't even know we do. You can contact me. You can ask me the hard questions. You can even say, "Carrie, can you do this differently?" Absolutely. Like the goal is we can take criticism. We are real estate agents and we want to help the actual consumer. So let me challenge all of you out there. If you are a real estate agent and you've never created a full buyer packet, create a buyer packet. If your company or your association or your multiple listing service gives you Cloud CMA, go create one today. Practice with a friend. The other thing I would say is you can leverage AI to help you with the process. Like the sky's the limit. You can even create buyer sheets in Realtor's Property Resource. So start today. If you are a buyer and you happen to stumble upon this video, go back to your agent and say, "Can we go through the full buying process so I have a full understanding of what's going to happen?" Because sometimes the buyer doesn't know that they should turn in all of their paperwork to the lender the first time. Don't piecemeal it, because it's going to take you longer to get approved. The buyer might not understand what happens when you're ready to write an offer, how stressful that might be. And if you have the ability, create a video on the home buying process, make it about 10 minutes or less. And then you can have your own unlisted videos or videos on YouTube to help the consumer. You know, the pre-buying session, the home buying process, what happens when you go under contract. You could create a whole series for your network. I'm Carrie Little, the designated managing broker of Caremark Realty Group in Illinois and in Florida. We want to help you grow in real estate. And if you're looking to buy or sell, we also want to be a resource. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and please follow me on Instagram and on TikTok.